Please pass the baton to you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I wanted to start with a question of clarity on the word immediately, but I won't. No, I'm just joking, Chair. No, we're not going to go into immediately now. Minister, firstly, thank you for your patience and explaining the definition of immediately so many times, according to you. I'm going to jump to something that we haven't actually spoken about that much today, and that is the irregularity of the Medicare 24 contract. I want to firstly start by asking you when you first picked up on the irregularity regarding the Medicare 24 contract, so that for the record. And is it something that your office discovered internally, or is it something that came to your attention otherwise?
On the 20th of December last year, we were due to fly from Cape Town to Durban. And when I left the house where I stay, I then read in my cell phone and found an article written by News 24. And it caught my eyes because there was SAPS, then there was a contract, as you mentioned. So I read the whole article. It was freely available. And the way it was written, it looked factual. I mean, that's the impression I got. And then on our way with the National Commission and other people, I then shared the article with the national chair, with the national commissioner. I gave him myself to say, are you aware of this, national commissioner? And he read it. And he said, yeah, no, I know about this. And I did check whether everything was done properly. And the people said, yes, it was done properly. And then, or awarded properly. And then he said, but if minister wants to get a briefing, I can organize a briefing. And then I said, please, let's organize a briefing. And indeed, that briefing was organized.
Thank you, Minister. In this specific case, and you'll see where I'm getting at now regarding procurement matters, can you share with us what has been the impact on police members, if at all, and whether they're still receiving the service that they should receive? Obviously, if you take the space of time that you've been, not been in office, been suspended, you don't need to comment on that, but before that maybe, and how has this gap been managed on the ground?
Now, first, so let me conclude. I left without saying whether it was discovered internally, but it's self-explanatory to what I've just said.
Sure.
Now, how they are closing the gap, I don't know, because surely it would take some time before another service provider gets provided, but I'm not sure about it.
Thank you, Minister. So the reason I'm starting with the Medicare questions is just because I think there's a bigger problem with regards to procurement. Medicare is a very good recent example. In the recent Auditor General reports, we saw that SAPS incurred over 649 million rands worth of irregular expenditure due to non-compliance with procurement laws. That's a 140% increase from the previous year. Why, in your opinion, has there been such a sharp rise despite prior commitments to tighten controls for procurement?
Irregular expenditure and other issues like wasteful expenditure are man and woman made. And they show, or they are an example of less than required attention to matters of procurement and finances generally. It means that there's something that SAPs are not doing and doing properly in terms of accounting for the finances of the department. There's no other explanation, because irregular expenditure doesn't come from anywhere. It comes from your hands, the way you handle money and the way you follow compliances. If you don't comply with prescripts of the PFMA, then that's a problem.
Thank you, Minister. I think for clarity's sake, the question I'm getting at is there an increase, did you pick up an increase in procurement-related corruption or alleged corruption in SAPS? Because when you look at these numbers, usually when there's this type of irregular expenditure, it points to significant corruption of some kind. And it's not the first time that this happens. So I want to ask you if, let me maybe give more context. Also in the Auditor General report, it shows almost 2.5 billion rand that was investigated with regards to irregular expenditure that has not been submitted for further action. But I want to refer to a report from the SIU from it's probably around 2022, 2023, that was presented to you and I believe your special advisor as well regarding SAP's PPE procurement during the COVID-19 period. Before I continue with the questions, are you aware of that report?
I'm aware of the report.
So Minister, the SIU investigation that was placed before you confirms that Mr. Molefi Fani, who I believe is currently, or he was Mr. Molefi Fani, at Treasury. He is now the Divisional Commissioner of Supply Chain Management in SAPS, was implicated in irregular SAPS PPE procurement during his tenure as the Chief Procurement Officer at National Treasury. You've been in office now for quite a few months. Obviously, we exclude the last month or two, and you're aware of these findings. What did you do to take steps in terms of Lieutenant General Fani being implicated in this significant corruption?
First, your first question that that deals with issues of irregularities and so on, whether it is a trend. This tender alone and the irregularities that accompanied it as it was awarded are quite a worrying factor, looking at the figure, 360 million. It's not a small thing, and whoever would have approved it would have applied their mind and would have crossed all the T's and put all the dots on the I's and so on. Seemingly, it was not done. Now, I'm aware of the SIU report. I'm aware of its pointers. It's a matter that the accounting officer is aware of. Now, it's a matter I think we had a discussion on, if I'm not mistaken, to say what do we do with these matters. It points to two people. One is on suspension for a very, very extended period of around 2 years or something like that, and then general fund. Let me just say that I don't think that the accounting officer has taken appropriate action, which would be either review the SIU report, either him or General Fund. Maybe it has happened now, I don't know, but I'm not aware of it having been taken. And it constitutes quite a problem that the SIU would have a report and then there would be nothing. But I can't recall whether we had a discussion with the National Commissioner, but it's likely that I did raise the matter with him.
Minister, and I say this respectfully, but I want to understand what action was taken from your office. You must understand from my point of view, firstly, we're running up to the BRRR process now in Parliament. We've got annual reports coming up. How do we grant any form of budget review or support any kind of budget review when we know that character is being implicated? I mean, the amount of money that we're speaking of with this specific case, I think it's close to 560 million rand. So it's not a small amount of money. It's significant, and well, it should be seen as significant if it's a smaller amount as well. But the point is, the perception that is created with inaction is someone is either being protected or someone is actively not doing what they're meant to do to pursue this. So are you parking it in front of the door of the National Commissioner? If so, did you follow up with the National Commissioner? Because he's the accounting officer on this. Enlighten us, please.
It's just that I can't specifically remember whether we had a meeting and discussed the matter, but most probably we would have had the meeting where the matters would have been raised, and he would have the matter would have been left to him as accounting officer. But I haven't been nagging him on the matter, and it probably remains an unresolved matter. But he may have handled the matter himself, engaged SIU, and maybe they settled the matter in one way or the other. So I can't say for sure.
Thank you, Minister. I think what we'll have to do from our side is invite them. We can do that on a police committee side, specifically to look into procurement. I want to move to annual performance plan related matters. So you're confirming to me that the divisional commissioner responsible for SAP's procurement remains in office. From what you know, that's from what I know as well. General Fani is still in office. Despite, under him being under SIU scrutiny, and that no interim safeguards were put in place to protect the procurement system that you know of.
But when we were doing the structure, the organization structure, reviewing it, we changed that and said matters of supply chain should happen under the CFO, because before it was separate. And when it comes to accounting, I thought that looseness, if I could use that word, would have contributed to some of these problems that you're talking about. So we migrated it. And I hope that in the structure that has been signed, I forgot to look at that particular one. We said it must be under CFO, because she deals with matters of finances already, and she should have an eye, even if it's a subunit, on what is happening there for control purposes. That is what we did.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I think from my side, and that's why the reason why I use this as an example is that the whole Medicare Cat Matlala issue, in my opinion, wouldn't have easily arisen had this type of thing been handled with urgency. I mean, you can imagine 500 million rand. I got a message now. The members doing training at Rudapla Training Academy don't have enough food for the members doing training at the academy with the K9 members. Now, something as simple as that, making sure that money is managed properly, even in terms of the smaller amounts, could have stopped this from happening. I constantly try to think what could have been done to prevent us from having to zoom in on this. Given the repeat findings over 5 consecutive years by the Auditor General, do you feel that consequence management mechanisms in SAPS are effective?
I don't think so, because I'm not aware of such steps or demonstration of such steps. But I know that there is a commitment or determination to improve. That's why one of the days we held an efficiency and effectiveness meeting to say CFO safeguard and accounting officer safeguard the finances, because we can only optimize on what we have and then be able to do more. So I'm hoping that there's since been tighter management of finances in the department than what has been happening.
So, Minister, now it comes to, and you can tell me if it's a mistake on your end or not. But in terms of the strategic plan and annual performance plan of SAPS, you signed on it, and there was specific mention of the professionalization of SAPS as one, and the eradication of corruption in SAPS. So, as two, let's call them flagship priorities for or during your tenure, how do you reconcile those commitments with the failure from your office against a senior SAPS official like Lieutenant General Fani, to a certain extent Lieutenant General Vuma, who's been on suspension for a very, very long time? How do you reconcile those written commitments with these procurement irregularities shown in the SIU investigation? I want to understand if your anti-corruption agenda is real, and if it is, why is it so slow?
Now, we were meant, as we started right to the end of the year and beginning of the year, to really focus, even though at the risk of operational vis-a-vis whatever ministerial powers. But it's something that you can't help in the light of those questions which we come across in Parliament. That's why I'm talking about one coin and two sides. It becomes inevitable that you engage, and depending on the response, matters become urgent, actions become drastic. It's one case, but we were meant to focus our attention on management of finance. And I think capacity is there to improve drastically on this. It's not like it's not there, but somehow it requires closer supervision, much more serious supervision, including from the side of the ministry, as opposed to saying, well, accounting officer is there and you leave it like that, because when things go wrong, he is not the only one. Questions like these ones come up and we're in a corner. And therefore, we were meant to follow up on those points in our strategic plan, and particularly in our annual performance plan.
Thank you, Minister. I've got one more question regarding this. I want to understand, if we're speaking about professionalizing the police, in my opinion, it starts with integrity, and specifically integrity in leadership appointments. That's the most critical. We can't expect things on ground level to change if we've got questionable characters supposedly leading in office. I would like to understand what message, according to you, does it send to close to 180,000 SAPS members, including administration, obviously, if a senior official, actually in this case, several senior officials, are linked to procurement fraud and they remain in charge of those divisions? What message does that send in terms of accountability?
It does affect it lower, pointing to a lower direction rather than upwards. In other words, it doesn't inspire, it doesn't demonstrate that you are serious about these matters. And for that to be in place, you need to be one. You need to believe in one thing, all of you, ministry and top management of SAPS, that there needs to be changes and they need to be taken seriously. And that is what, rather than going on, taking things for granted, especially with the fortunes of on the financial side decreasing as it's happening, and we're more and more getting to be found wanting in terms of the quality of service. In some cases, services itself. Like you are quoting one example. It doesn't look good that there would be such and so on, but don't forget that I'm on leave. I don't want to get on matters when the acting minister is there. But generally speaking, that's not inspiring.
Fair, thank you, Minister. Minister, in terms of this whole procurement issue, I think that something that is frustrating to us is that we've really come to a point where we constantly hear the answer. We've actually heard this. General Sabia also pointed to that. The impression is created that we're okay with the current management structure. There are just minor oversight things that need to. Let me make it clearer. We're okay with the individuals in senior management positions, and that there are minor oversight functions that need to be improved. But I want to hear from you. Do you think it's time for the changing of the guard? Is it necessary for the South African Police Service, let's say the top 10, to be audited and possibly replaced?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily put it exactly the way you put it, but I spoke earlier on about the need to overhaul certain aspects and sections of SAPS. There is a need just to refresh and the organization. How you do it, it's a different matter, but that, because I think that sense of a repetitive kind of stance on things is now at odds with what is expected either in Parliament or elsewhere, and therefore there is a need for some kind of action, whether it is in that form or in another form. But it's difficult. It's going to be more and more difficult to leave just things as they are and go on just like that.
Minister, if you were back in office tomorrow, figuratively speaking, what would you do regarding this specific matter, this SIU matter? If you know all of these people are still in their positions, what would you do if you're back in office tomorrow?
Well, it's to call for a report. Where are we with the SIU report? Because as I'm saying, I'm sitting here talking. There may have been things that have been done since I left, but that would be something to be found out, and then act on them. And I do note that it does require solidity of a certain level to get into those matters and correct them.
Minister, I want to jump to Mr. Cedric Nkabindi, his appointment. We've touched on it a lot. There are one or two questions, I think, for the record that are important. Just in terms of the process, I want to understand, did you go through any kind of do you know if there was any kind of a security clearance process with regards to Mr. Nkabindi? Did he get security clearance? Was there any kind of vetting process in terms of clearance?
That is a standard practice, and I take it. I'm risking here because I am not called for it to see it, but that's a standard practice that there should be vetting. It's one of the standard practices.
But you're not sure?
In the sense that I don't remember asking for it to see it, but this is not managed within the employment of these people is not of the staff in the ministry, is not necessarily managed within the ministry. It's managed by particular people in SAPS, and they are the ones who ensure compliance. I would need to talk to them to find out whether there's 100% compliance, but I take it that there is.
So, Chair, I think that's an important note for us for reporting on this, is that there is a serious gap in terms of due diligence being done, because, I mean, surely, Minister, you want to know, you could be able to trust the person sitting next to you. And I don't want to cast an aspersion on Mr. Nkabindi,
Yes.
but his name pops up everywhere. So surely some kind of due diligence had to have been followed. In terms of his suitability to manage confidential policing and even intelligence information, did you have any indication outside of that security clearance that he was suitable to handle that he was trustworthy to handle that type of information?
Yes, in the sense that, well, even without necessarily doing any specific check, but before he came to work with us as chief of staff, he was working at forensics in a bank. I would imagine that he wouldn't have worked there without being checked and being certified in terms of suitability to deal with confidential matters. And before that, he was at IPID. Now, normally, you would take that experience and passage of time and him as a sign that there would have been confidence when he worked there in those matters, because these are sensitive areas of work.
Minister, respectfully, banks don't answer very positively in that sense anymore. I believe recently in Cape Town there were 2 cases of arms dealers that were found with large amounts of firearms in containers, and they were both employees, quite senior employees, I might add, of very well-renowned commercial banks. So my question comes back to that due diligence. I want to understand if he did not have security clearance, or if you're unsure about it, why was he granted access to such sensitive material?
Well, I don't say he doesn't have security clearance. I'm just saying that I didn't ask for it. I don't remember asking for it. But we've been discussing clearances of other people, and I take it that he has. And I take it that he has what it takes to be chief of staff and to handle. I haven't heard anything coming out negative about him up until this kind of upheaval, where what you're talking about then similarly is coming here and there on him. But before that, there was nothing.
Minister, yeah, the doubt, and it could be that SAPS or SSA slipped on it, and we'll be able to follow that up. But it can't be that a chief of staff comes into such a sensitive position, and we don't know whether that person has the clearance that they meant to have. And again, it's similar to the procurement issue. We could have potentially prevented a lot of the leaks and things that took place. Apart from a little bit of work experience at IPID, what skills specifically of Mr. Nkabindi stood out to you or convinced you that he should be capable of being in such a senior position in the ministry? In terms of, I'd say, more complex policing issues and even intelligence matters, because he would obviously have been exposed to that. He's really put into a position where he's in the belly of all the action. So, what specific experience apart from IPID stood out to you?
Yeah, firstly, I wouldn't want us to create an impression that the leaks that you are talking about, referring to, are from his part. We just park it like that, without suggesting such. But to be specific on your question, I did talk about my experience of him at IPIT, when he was at IPIT, in terms of investigating the complaint that I had laid with IPIT. What specifically impressed me was the detail in terms of how he went about doing this job and bring it to finality. I was quite impressed, and it was the first time I'd met him, and I felt that there was integrity throughout the process when it was done, and I was far from looking at ever working with him at that time because I was at home, and therefore that is what I picked up at that time.
Has he ever issued any instructions or correspondence or directives to SAPS or IPID officials on your behalf?
No, not that I know, but at one point, we had I think a small discussion following a letter it received from one of the members, and that he processed it to IDAC. I think it followed a little chart or something like that, but he sent it. But I can't recall any other instance where he signed in his name and sent a document out.
And Minister, was he involved in any way in the drafting or the timing? I understand that you went and gave the closing of the PKTT thought at home and so on, but did he play any role in the drafting or the timing or communication of the letter to disband the PKTT?
No, he just relayed things as I gave it to him. Have you received, sent to special advisor? Have you received? Now you can then send it to specific people as indicated.
So Minister...
So it didn't play any role in drafting.
Okay. Do you still, I mean, at the moment, you're not actually sure if he has security clearance, right?
In the sense that I didn't see it. I don't recall asking for it.
Yeah, but you either know he has or he doesn't have.
Yes.
So do you still stand by your decision to appoint Mr. Nkabindi as the Chief of Staff to your office, given the concerns or the doubt in terms of his vetting background?
It's exactly what I'm trying to avoid, because I can't, on the basis of something that I'm not sure, to answer you specifically, and then I answer as if I am sure about your earlier question. And so I would want not to answer that particular question, but if I were to confirm and see his security clearance, that would be in the right direction to make me answer that question with confidence. But other aspects like qualifications and so on, and like stability in terms of being present at work all the time and following instructions, and not lapsing for a day or something like that. Of course, there's room for improvement, but he has stability as far as that's concerned, managing staff and so on. But to be specific on your answer, I would need to get that document.
Minister, so we can actually remove his name from it. To me, the fact that there's any doubt regarding this key person, the fact that you don't know and that you're not sure, is a cause for serious concern, because it means that there's a breach in terms of vetting and security of your office. It means that the potential leaks, and I'm not, again, remove his name from it. The point is that there could have been several other people that also didn't have clearance. And I want to say to you that if it is so that he didn't have security clearance, then obviously there's a significant breach. But if it is so that he does have security clearance and all of these leaks still occurred, then I would be seriously worried about the clearance process as well. The point is just that a chief of staff, you must know, he's either cleared or he's not, because if you're not vetted in such a sensitive position, especially with this drama that we're facing at the moment.
I take your point.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I've got 4 or 5 last questions, but they're yes or no question. I see the Chief Whip here from the corner of my eyes watching me, glaring at me. I can hear him whispering in Zulu to me. But I've got brief yes or no questions. The first one, yes or no, your affidavit explicitly states that the President agreed to close the PKTT.
Yes, it says so.
Yes or no, you issued the immediate disbandment letter without an approved transition plan.
Well, you will excuse me, I can't use yes or no there, but I will say, yes, there was a directive, but it pointed at a preliminary report because I couldn't go to somebody and say,
Fair.
give me a transitional plan before I did that.
Yes or no, Minister, you met or communicated with Brown Mchunu or Kat Matlala in the 14 days surrounding the 31st of December?
I definitely didn't communicate with Mchunu on the 31st. I haven't seen that.
Thank you, Minister. Yes or no, you will submit your devices, or you will be willing to submit your devices for independent forensic review?
I would be more than willing to do so. And there's absolutely no reason why I shouldn't be willing to do so.
Then the last 2, Minister, yes or no, you personally appointed Cedric Nkabindi without security clearance at the time?
I can't say so because of what I said earlier on, that I may be making an error to answer you directly on that, because he may have, in terms of compliances that are required of him by the team that was handling his employment. I don't think they would have taken him without it, but I'm subject to confirmation or otherwise on this matter, because I don't do it myself, the employment part.
Let's check with Honorable Cameron, because he was concluding.
Yeah, just on the question before of handing over the gadgets to whatever independent, you are willing to hand over the gadgets even to the police who were turned away at the gate if they've got the necessary requirements?
Yes, my yes applies to them, exactly. Okay.
Sure. Minister, then my last question, and this is more a matter of opinion. It's not a yes or no question. And Chair, this is my last question: is do you think this whole drama? I keep calling it the drama, but is it a factional? Is it a factional fight of sorts inside the South African Police Service, or is it really about drug cartels, or is it both? I would like to hear from you, and by this I'm not discrediting any theory at the moment. I don't want to, because there's still too much that we need to hear, and I also think a perception is created that a lot of this happened in the last 6 months. But if you listen to everyone that has spoken so far, things date back as far as when Minister Becky Cele was the national commissioner, or we hear the names of Ria Piecha or Minister Nathi Mthethwa, former Minister Nathi Mthethwa. So I want to understand from you, in your just your opinion, What do you think is going on? What's the reason for all of this?
I would say it's a combination of factors. One, less than required coherence, unity and coherence on the side of police executive management or top management. Two, it would also include personal battles informed by one interest or the other over time, and then streamlining people into columns, as I would put it, in accordance with how they would have dealt with matters of differences and so on of one kind or the other. But more than that, what I would want to say in the ad hoc committee, to the ad hoc committee, is that it's an opportunity, this one, to correct, if I could use that word, what's wrong, to deal with it. It's an opportunity to face reality. And my reading or my assessment is that it can't be nice. It can't be nice. It's an upheaval period to which you have to apply your minds quickly and decide at the same time, but carefully, and so on, because it's an opportunity that otherwise wouldn't have just come walking to you. But you do need to seize the moment and seize the opportunity and correct the situation for the future.
Thank you, Minister. That's it from me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Cameron, Honorable Malim.
Chair, my apology. Before you give to SCR, before we break, an apology to the colleagues. You know, I forgot to ask the minister if you know a guy called Jerry Boshoga. The mother sent me a message. He has been kidnapped from the 18th of November last year. And the allegation was such that Matlala had to do with it. And this case has been going on for some time. It's almost a year now. A person disappears, a high profile linked to Matlala, that Matlala is involved and all of that. And police seems to be helpless about the whole situation. I'm sorry if you don't know it, but it's a guy who has been kidnapped from 18 November 2024 until today. And the mother asked me to ask you, where is her son?
If I could just check, is it not someone from the East Rand in Gauteng?
Somewhere in Gauteng, there in Pretoria or something.
I can't suddenly recall the name, but in terms of where. But the name isn't unfamiliar, and the incident, I wanted to link it with the East Rand, a case that I would say I at some point came across it. Now, then to say that from where I sit, there's been progress on most of the cases. And I wouldn't have expected that we have an outstanding matter like this one for so long. And I know that in some cases, really, they've done a sterling job, these teams that deal with these matters, often risking their lives and so on. So they generally have been performing well. And so this one would be an exception. I would make an effort as a report back on your side that I would inquire with the minister to check for us, and I would revert to you. But I would need your number to revert. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Malim. I think this is it's a very, very serious matter. It's a matter of national concern, and we must take collective responsibility, all of us, that the police commissioner was here and it escaped us. What we should do, SC, let's write back to the police commissioner and request an explanation or a progress report, even if it's just one paragraph or one page. I don't think it will be wrong for us to make that follow-up. These are some of the things that South Africans want to hear us doing, demonstrating that we can act on their behalf. Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for that decisive intervention. Honorable Skosan.
Thank you, Chair. Just before the SC, the minister in that recording which was played here, it said it is a common cause that General Khan, who has previously been accused in drug operations, if you can clarify, because it was played here, being accused in a...
Let me check with you, because I thought you are asking a clarity-seeking question based on the matters that Honorable Cameron was raising. Because if you do this, it means I must now open to all members to come back with any matter that...
Let me make things easy for you, Chair. We will ask the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, because the person who was quoted here is still coming as well beside the minister. Because that recording, which we didn't get that thread, there was an issue as well in that. So I wanted clarity, but if you say that you will open up, it's okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. Minister, Honorable Minister, before I give to the SC, just to pass the following. General Mkhwanazi, when he appeared before us, he stated here that he could not conclude that you were a corrupt person. And secondly, that the Edward Senzo Mchunu that he knew would not have signed the letter to disband the PKTT or the NPKTT. The Edward Senzo Mchunu that he knew. So when a statement like this one is put to you, is it your understanding that General Mkhwanazi had a high regard for you? Number one, he says that, look, where I am, I can conclude that Minister Mchunu is a corrupt person. Number two, the personality that I know, sitting here, I'm still not convinced that he could sign or put his signature on a document like this one. Do you understand him to be a person who had a high regard for you?
Well, Chair, it's quite a difficult question to be fair, to say, I know so and so, he has a high regard for me. So and so has a high regard or lower regard. Normally, we don't accord such accolades to ourselves. But to the extent that you're asking me a question, I have no reason to believe or to think that General Mkhwanazi would have, especially with the second one, he would have meant that he has less regard or even undermining me for signing the letter or for having written and signed the letter. So I would want to respond like that for now.
let me check you as a public representative. And you have deposed it here that the intervention was publicly announced that there are political killings in this province who are going to do something about it. And the Honorable Cameron has asked you about a transition plan to say, when that decision was taken and communicated, has there been an effort as a public representative to go back to those communities that have been affected to say to them, look, we have decided the way we did, and this is how we are going to deal with all those matters going forward? Has there been any initiative like that one?
Not as yet, Chair.
Not as yet. The last question, Honorable Minister, would be 2 months, and I'm taking from what you have said, 2 months after the decision has been taken, a briefing with the president happened. Am I correct? It might have been 2 months or less, because I remember you said something like February or March.
Yes.
Yeah. Had the president disagreed, because the record we have is that the president has agreed. Had the president disagreed, were you going to reverse the decision?
Definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your answers, Senior Counsel.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members.
Chair, just one. I'm sorry, Senior Counsel. Would there be a small opportunity for just 2 recommendations?
Yeah.
Just 2. Sorry, Senior Counsel. The first recommendation that I would want to make, I would transmit it, but I will just take a short version thereof because it's longer. I'm requesting or recommending that the Auditor General be approached and appointed to conduct a full and independent audit of the National Political Task Team's financial matters. There are some detail that's the first one. The second one is that we as a country, that it be recommended, I know that you are going to go to processes, that instead of having what we have now currently, your SIU, your IDAC, DPCI and other agencies, we consider recommending strongly that a transparent and accountable, no, not this one, that a single independent anti-corruption agency be seriously considered, because standing as we are, all of us in the security cluster know and acknowledge that we are very weak in the light of the kind of criminality and including corruption and complexities thereof that we are facing, that these matters be considered urgently. Thank you very much, but I will transmit the whole thing.
No, thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Senior Counsel.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members, Honorable Minister. The first 2 questions, and again, I'd also request that you answer a yes or no, or give a short response so that I can get through my questions. The first 2 both relate to what happened on the 5th of March when you appeared before the portfolio committee. At that, I can read back to you what you said, but would you agree that at that meeting, that appearance before the portfolio committee, you did not mention to the committee that PKTT was an unlawful or illegal structure?
Yes, I didn't mention that.
You didn't mention it, notwithstanding the fact that there was a presentation which was on the agenda. The presentation was made by Brigadier General Kumalo in response to your directive, and he then mentioned that he spoke about how the unit or the task team would be phased out.
Yes, that was the content of the presentation on the 5th, the phasing out.
Related to that, you're not aware that the Auditor General, whom you've now requested to conduct an audit into the PKTT, as ironically, there's no report from the Auditor General that you're aware of that accuses or finds that the police have incurred unlawful expenditure because they've been funding or budgeting for an illegal unit or structure?
The report is just on standard criteria, or like pointing at irregularities. It doesn't point to a particular area of subs, just irregularities and other findings.
In other words, the Auditor General has proceeded on the basis that the PFMA and other procurement policies and prescripts have been complied with.
Well, I wouldn't know what the findings assumed or not assumed.
Yeah, I think that question is too broad and perhaps unfair, but particularly in relation to the PKTT, there weren't any adverse findings.
Well, Senior Counsel, nor was there any finding in any other particular area like procurement, like this. I don't think the report would have been specific in a particular area.
Okay. Now, we heard from you that one of the reasons that informed your decision of the 31st of December, that's the directive of 31 December 2024, was inter alia hearing complaints from Professor Mary Das, and also from Ms. Mashali.
But also from...
Yes, I said amongst others. They were. You also received other WhatsApps, and so some have disappeared. But you mentioned, I'm asking specifically about Ms. Mashali, and you said that you, because she's a serial complainant, isn't it, in the police, very well known, you referred her complaints to the Inspector General for Intelligence.
No, I said I just wanted to know who Patricia Mashal is, not the complaints, but just her. I asked this.
Well, did you get the response from the Inspector General?
He did respond.
What was his response?
His response was that, yes, Patricia Mashal, on some cases, reliable, but in some cases she takes things that are factual and sometimes changes them and so on. So he gave a picture of somebody. I concluded that when you receive something, read it, but how you process it, you need to think carefully.
Following his response, did you conclude that there was substance in some or all of her complaints?
In some, I would take that, but not all.
Now, this is how you responded to the committee. But I must state this, that one of the people who is quite frequent in making allegations on social media regarding police, I took the initiative of referring back to the Inspector General to say, Inspector General, I frequently receive allegations from this person concerning SAPS, concerning leadership of SAPS at management level, including the National Commissioner. Do you recall saying that? And some of them appear quite serious when you read them and so on, but you lack verification or validity thereof, and you can't make up your mind when you are not sure of the validity. So the Inspector General, I wrote him a letter, and after some time, he did respond on what you submitted. These are very, very doubtful, and it was quite a bulk of allegations that I received up to them. About 75%, if not 80%, that they are proven to be untrue. And then the remainder could be or could not be subject to investigations and so on. So all I'm putting to you onto the table is that this was a response, there was a response. It appears to be the case from your answer and what you got back from the Inspector General, that this is a person who makes mostly 75%, 80% unproven allegations against people in SAPS.
That's what the Inspector General would have said.
Well, the point is, she, Ms. Mashali, and the House with amongst two of the people whose complaints you relied on to inform your decision to issue the directive.
No, I think that's where I've been insisting that there's an error there. And I don't know why. I said there are people, some of them officers who had served in the National Political Killings Task Team, some of them are still there. You would recall, Senior Counsel, that we even held a meeting to say, I wanted and I prayed that those people, means be made for them to appear so that they can speak for themselves. And I said there's a high risk and therefore it would mean a detailed plan or meeting conditions. So I would want to really avoid just highlighting those two. I even said just because they are able to write and so on, then we take them alone.
Yeah,
Please,
Minister,
let's not do that.
sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
I've got limited time. The point is that you mentioned her as one of the persons that influenced and that informed your decision, and in fact, you attached to your affidavit a number of her complaints. It's attached to your affidavit, so you clearly must have taken them seriously. Why would you attach the social posts of a person whom the Inspector General already said, at the very least, you know, be wary, be careful, because 75, 80% of this stuff is not true.
It was just for information, not to use it to weigh what I considered. It was not. It was just to be available. Yeah. And I spoke at length about these people that I spoke about. But I also, as you remember, Senior Counsel, the issues of budget, of structure. So I wouldn't want Mary DeHaas and Patricia Mashale to be the only reasons for the directives, because that's not the case.
Then, just in relation to the appointment procedure of Ngabinde, he would have been, well, you were the Minister of Public Service and Administration, so you should be well aware of these procedures. But the appointment would be in terms of Section 9, which relates to executive appointments, and read together with the regulations 65 and 66. And the point about that is that when it comes to executive appointments, chief of staff, they have to be advertised openly or publicly. But there is some procedure. You appoint the panel, the executive authority appoints the panel and makes the decision, and a contract is then concluded, but not for longer than 3 years. That's what the regulations say. But the point is, a chief of staff would be the ultimate person in your office that you must trust, isn't it?
Yes.
So there's still a gap for me in your disclosure about whether you knew Nkabindi, whom you met 2017 when he came to your place with McBride. We also know that by the way, that Nkabindi brought Lieutenant General Mkwanazi to your house when you were the Minister of Water and Sanitation. Brought him to your house. So he is a bit more of a comrade, is it? He's an associate?
No, firstly, I wouldn't put it the way you're putting it, that he
I'm asking.
that he brought General Mkwanas, because that has a different connotation. I think I said I take it that they had a discussion on their own. They agreed that they would come and would have a chat. So it was mutual consensus among the two of them. It would have been. By the time they spoke to me, I took it for granted that they would have spoken. They know better what happened before they came. And so what was the question, Senior Counsel, on that?
Sorry, Minister.
I'm trying to follow up on what were you wanting me to answer. I was just straightening correcting the other impression.
I was saying that for me, I'm not sure whether that concern is shared by the Honourable Committee and the Chair, but there seems to be a gap, given that the person, we agreed at least on this, the Chief of Staff must be the one person in your office that you must trust.
Yes.
Honourable Cameron has already raised the issue of whether he had security clearance or not, that issue's open. So I was just inquiring about, having met him only in 2017, and between 2017 and your appointment as Minister of Police, you occupied two other portfolios, isn't it? Public
Yes.
Service Administration,
Yes.
and then Water and Sanitation. And Mr. Nkabindi was somehow still around. And then you appoint him in 2024.
I did say that we kept contact, but we're not working together. And that contact was not necessarily frequent, but we kept talking about this and that. So it's not like it was 2017 and then appointment as Chief of Staff. It didn't happen that way.
Okay. Just on the Matlala affidavit, I did
And
see...
maybe just, sorry, Senior Counsel, may I request that his appointment, there is a person, or there are people who are responsible for this in SAPS independently, to say what exactly and how, so that you get an independent and comprehensive. It's something that can take less than an hour, so that you come, you are on top of how he was appointed.
Yeah, you have offered us the personnel file, whatever file, for us to have a look at the appointments, the procedures, whether they were complied with or not. So if any questions, we'll place it before the committee, and if there's any questions, we'll put it to you in writing for your response. On Matlala affidavit, we did, I think it's the the email that was read out yesterday. I had also seen it this morning. It seems to have been unsolicited and came from Matlala's lawyers, offering this affidavit to you. And it appears that it's not your lawyers that had solicited the affidavit and had gone to CMAX to obtain or to procure the affidavit. The IMC, we understand, and this will be confirmed tomorrow by General Pele. He wants to still be called General. He says that the current Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, I'm not sure whether you'll know as a minister appointed by the president, whether it's in a presidential minute or some kind of document, but her functions as a minister still includes serving on the IMC for the political Killing Stars team. So a question is, I think that's also been asked by other honorable members, is you said that the IMC has also been disbanded or perhaps also disestablished. And we inquiring about where did that come from? Was that a presidential instruction or what was it? Because a current minister is still on her list of things to do is to be a member of the IMC.
Well, I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Perhaps lastly, do you know a person by the name of Suleiman Karim?
Suleiman Karim.
Suleiman Karim, yeah. Karim is Carrim.
It could be a person I may have met once or something like that.
Okay. Again, a minister, it crops up in a string of emails that goes in between Matlala and Karim, and one of the WhatsApp says from Karim, "Good morning, Minister. This is dated, what's it date? 6th of May, 2025. Good morning, Minister. Just received a call from our guy, who is a service provider for our health risk management project. He's got very serious concerns. Apparently, you gave a directive to scrutinize his contract, and while they must stall as much as they can to release purchase orders until you guys come up with something that can warrant the termination of the service." Then Karim says to Matlala, this is what he sent to you. And then Karim says to Matlala, then he called, referring to you calling him. Any comment on that?
Now, I think I remember receiving such a message, but I didn't respond to such a message.
Okay. Is that it? Thank you. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Honorable Chair and members.
Chair.
And thank you for your cooperation, Minister.
Chair.
Thank you, Senior Counsel.
Honorable Malema.
No, Minister, there is a Suleiman who's a treasurer of the ANC or something in Mafeking. Would that not refer to the same? Or put differently, do you know the Suleiman who's the treasurer of the ANC in Mafeking? Regional treasurer.
That's why I'm saying it's somebody I may have met, but I can't say this is a person who I would know or identify when he comes here, because I may have met him not more than once.
Honorable Ngola.
Thanks, Chair. No, the text read by the SC also suggests that there was a call made by the minister after the text. So just to confirm with him, did he call after having received the message from the guy mentioned? Thank you.
I don't recall making a call to him, but I may need to look at what you are talking about. But I remember getting a message.
Are you satisfied?
I'm fine, Chair. Thank you.
Honorable members, I want to thank you so much for your patience and your cooperation. It has taken us 2 days. You can imagine the honorable member who started questioning yesterday having to sit out for the rest of the day and the second day. I want to thank you so much for that. Honorable Minister, the last 2 days have been the longest of the days for you. And we want to thank you. We have arrived at the end of our proceedings, and we want to thank you for having stayed the course. It might not have been easy at some time, but you'll find ways to respond to the questions. And thank you for your resilience. SC and your team, the staff of Parliament, the members of the media, we are meeting again here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. The SC had requested that he may need about 4 to 5 hours to lead evidence. And members must come prepared immediately after we go past that phase. We are going to take questions. I don't know the number of members we will be able to take tomorrow, but I just want to advise you to be ready. Time permitting, we are going to start with questions. Honorable Skosana, Honorable Malim.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure whether these air conditions works here. Chair, we are working under difficult. See, this aircon is hot here, Chair. I'm not sure whether the other venue is ready. If it's ready, we can go back there, Chair. Thank you.
The reason why I'm announcing this venue is because the other venue is not available.
Or we change the dress code. Yeah, it's really hot. We may have to change the dress code.
Be honest.
Honorable Malema.
Honorable Kosana is having hot flashes.
Chair, I was saying we hope as the proceedings proceed, we'll have an opportunity to also see junior counsels leading evidence. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's an arrangement between the three of them. They will tell us when they are ready. It will be very good, especially I think SC just to one day have. You remember we commended you for bringing 2 young South African females. Yes, this is the cause of justice that we champion. If we are conscious to the difficulties the women of this country have gone through.
We have discussed it, and it's entirely up to them to take up the opportunity. I suspect
we're not
we'll see
rushing.
them in action next week.
We're not rushing you, SC, and Advocate Zika. We're not rushing you, Advocate Mokhwaiz. We just say at the time we're not saying immediately. We're saying at the time you feel you are ready. Just just let us know that.
It's the, I'm discussing them along the lines of the ministers immediately.
Okay.
Next week, immediately.
Thank you so much. We have come to the end of today's proceedings.